And I don't know if you remember Siri. You remember Siri when it first came out?
Yeah.
The amount of the testing that they did, I used to laugh because I have friends from all different parts of the world. And if you had even an accent that it doesn't recognize, it makes up all sorts of things, right? Because it was tested.
Oh, it still makes them up. I mean, and this thing is 8 years old or whatever. And it's still making up words that you ask, hey, find this website. And they're like, would you like to buy tickets? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Welcome to Next In. Today is a special day, mostly because Shane's not here, which makes this actually really fun. No, I'm actually joined in studio, not because she is from Tennessee, but she happens to be here for a conference. She's speaking at a conference, and it just so happened to line up. So I'm really excited, and it's a repeat guest. So for a lot of reasons, today is going to be a really fun, really exciting conversation. I have Aliza Carpio, who's Senior Director, Technology Product Manager over at JLL. So, and when we met you was 3 years ago.
Right. I was with Autodesk at the time.
Yep. With Autodesk. 3 years ago, you did a podcast with us, or How She Got There podcast with Jamie Vaughn. So I would guess a lot has changed. Obviously, jobs have changed. So
Yes.
We could start there. Tell us a little bit about, you Autodesk, now JLL.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, about your life in the last 3 years.
Oh my gosh. I feel like so much has changed. Well, partly my job, but also because of my own interest and passion to go back to, I would say, heavier tech. At Autodesk, I was director of product, but focused on tech evangelism, which is really only a section of what product management is, which is to evangelize your products. And now I really wanted to focus back on tech, really data. I'm passionate about data, platforms, anything around that. And AI definitely lends itself well because it all starts with the data.
AI, what's AI? Yeah, we probably were not talking about AI as short as 3 years ago. That probably was not even really part of actually, I know it wasn't part of the conversation. I mean, maybe it was in your world, but it just wasn't in the world heavily. I mean, I know ChatGPT had come out, but it
2023.
Yeah.
2023 was a watershed moment. I mean, AI as a term has been around since 1955.
Right.
From Dartmouth Research. And ChatGPT in its birth in 2023 really changed things because it made it accessible and it made it real for people. And it wasn't just like research or some of the deep stuff that IBM was doing with Watson, where it still felt a little bit like, oh, only big tech has that.
Yeah.
But with ChatGPT, I still remember to the day, I got pinged on one of my subreddits that I follow and on LinkedIn by a couple of folks. And I'm like, I'm going to try this out. And I was in the airport on my way to another conference. And I did two things. One is I took a poem from Lord Byron and I only put the first 2 lines of it and I asked it to complete it, and it did. And then the second thing that I did was I went into GitHub and just found an open source project. Again, put maybe the first 20 lines of that code, asked it what it does, and then asked it who it's for. And it was
pretty spot on.
Yeah, it was mind blowing.
I remember my first experience with it was not me personally necessarily, but was my sister reaching out to me, and she's in the tech space and AI and everything else. And she said her son, who I guess now he's a junior in college, so he would have been like a freshman in college, or maybe he was a senior in high school. And she said, holy cow, look at what Wally just did. And it was, he took a statement he made and he told ChatGPT to say it like Snoop Dogg would. And I'm like, wow, well, I'm glad that we have this technology. Thank God. But that was the early stages of there's something here. And she's like, wow, this ChatGPT thing is going to really explode. And if I'm being honest, I was not an early adopter, and I was sort of rolled my eyes like, oh, just another, fart noise app type thing, which obviously has transformed into now things that you're seeing with Claude Code and everything well beyond just your kind of initial, I can say it like Snoop Dogg would, right? Or I can finish a poem, but this is now getting to the place where it can actually do real work and so on.
Right. That movement from generative AI, which is really generating content and creating, to now agentic AI. And, NVIDIA's study actually shows that basically agentic is where it can not start to reason, where it can actually reflect what it is you're saying and then take action on your behalf. By 2028, Waymo and all these other, devices or cars out there, it's going to be more physical AI. And so it's moving at this hockey stick speed, right? But yet, I will tell you, people's behaviors and even government have yet to catch up. And so that's the thing that we are at. I think we're in this place where AI isn't just here to maybe finish a sentence or to, create a list of tasks or summaries. It's going to start not creating, but it's going to start taking action. And sometimes autonomously, which can be freaking people out a bit. For me, it's quite exciting because in the place I'm in with commercial real estate and specifically in property management of commercial real estate for Jones Lang LaSalle, which is JLL, we're really talking about how do we transform the thing that's always been, painful or manually done. So it's pretty cool to see its potential.
Yeah.
But governance is a big thing, right? You can't just let it loose. You have to really think about security. You have to think about the health of your AI, your data.
So let's go. Let's talk about that. Like we kind of fast forwarded to the end of the podcast when I like to say, is AI going to end the world? But so how do we make sure it doesn't, right? Because if it does continue on its hockey stick, I mean, this is the whole singularity and everything else that's been around, yes, for a very long time, dating back before the Terminator. And so how do we stop it from getting to that place and instead use it as this amazing tool that we can, like you said, with some form of governance, control to the best of our ability versus and we talked about this on a podcast, maybe it was a month ago, Maltbook, right? You're familiar with Maltbook and the agents talking to each other, and it was a completely humanless environment, supposedly. And it started to resemble some things. And I think, give the example of this was the beginning of the end. Like you could see this was the fart app of iPhones where it was it doesn't do much right now, but you could see where it will go as if this starts to get out of hand, this could get really messy, right? From security protocols where they had API keys that could be given out, passwords, everything else, because it had access to its humans server and stuff like that. So what do you think not you specifically, but we all need to do to make sure that it doesn't get to that place?
Before I answer that question, do you remember the time, and I say old, but some people call it seasoned. Do you remember the time when people were talking about moving to the cloud?
Yes.
Do you remember that? The cloud was this thing, it's going to solve our problems.
But it was scary.
It was scary. What does this mean? Am I going to lose my job? And I still remember seeing every strategic set of slides had moving to the cloud. The reality is that you have to really think about strategically, what are you moving to the cloud? And also, lots of people didn't realize that your apps and all of your tools that support that needed to be ready for the cloud. And so in AI, there's a term that we call responsible AI. And I'm going to break it down into what we as humans should be doing and expecting, and then what, in terms of security and governance and privacy and all that, what needs to be happening from an enterprise perspective. As human beings, we should never accept, and this is going to be me probably making the stance, but we should never accept applications or tools where we are 100% removed.
Correct.
Because humans in the loop is really critical. And I actually wrote a blog article recently with somebody I really admire at JLL. Her name is Sanchita Sahu, where we actually talked about how do you as product managers ensure that you create solutions that have humans in the loop, because it's humans that's still going to reason. We still are the ones who have to abstract and make the decisions and not allow that, right? So not allow the machines to just do it for yourself, for us. And so I always kind of talk about AI or agents acting on our behalf. We still need to take control. And I think that's key. So in terms of responsible AI and our expectations, we should really think about, okay, where in this applications experience am I going to play a role? Then there's a second thing, which you asked about, which is around governance and around security protocols. Now, as somebody who works with teams that builds AI, like AI solutions or AI-driven insights, there has to be a bunch of testing, and there has to be ongoing standards and ongoing tooling that you need to make sure that you're adhering to ensure that, one, we don't take advantage of the data that there's a lot of power when you have access to data.
Yep.
And so you have to, as an enterprise, really create not just rules, policies, but also like you need to train your employees, whether it's somebody who is program managing all the way to like a developer or even a designer, to say, hey, here's how we work. And here's what it means to be responsible around the data that we get to have access to.
But if that's so, here my question though is like, that's awesome, and JLL is doing it super responsibly.
Yes.
What if the competitor isn't? Right? So it's like, how do we make sure it's the same thing when we think of the government use of AI, and maybe America, we sit down and we go through it, and Congress decides how we should use it, ethically in the right way. And so we do that, great. But North Korea doesn't, or Turkey doesn't, or whoever, right, chooses not to follow what would be considered proper rules of usage, then we get left behind. So how does JLL do it right versus how do they make sure, I guess you could say, other people do it right and keep their security protocols up and everything else so that it doesn't become something that's out of control? Is there a way that we can, and again, I don't know that you and I could solve the problem, but is there a way that we can make sure that it is used the right way, the way that you think about it and JLL thinks about it?
It's such a big question, because at the end of the day, there's two things, right? Like JLL cannot govern what others do in the industry, right? And it comes down to the actions that we as individuals take, right? And in terms of, leadership in this space, ethical, high integrity has got to still be in there, right? And again, as human beings, or those that consume or use these technologies, it's up to us to be open to giving comments, giving feedback. I don't know if when you use ChatGPT or Gemini, when it asks you around, give it me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or tell me, is my answer good? You better be giving feedback.
Yep.
Or if there's something that's weird, you should be giving feedback.
I do.
And by the way, a lot of people have asked me, Aliza, there's this thing that I tried to do. And I said, was it math? Were you trying to do math? and they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so LLMs, or large language models, typically don't do math well. And in fact, if it tries to do math, it gives you a number and you're like, it's totally freaking off. It doesn't do math well, and you can actually convince it. So that's the other thing.
Yes, that I've seen.
Like we call it hallucinations. And then I make a joke about it whenever I do training for folks, especially those that are kind of newbies in terms of using AI tools in their work. I kind of say, like, when you're hanging out with friends way back when, maybe when you've had a few drinks and that person across the way looks really cute to you, and your friends who haven't had maybe as many drinks are like, what are you talking about?
Yep.
Right? Like, your mind is hallucinating, right?
Yep.
And by the way, friends, don't let friends leave with like gross people. So AI can do the same. And it's humans behind AI. So a lot of people go, oh my God, AI thing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, humans actually create that. And it's because humans are behind AI, there's also bias.
Yep.
And I am somebody that, I'm a big fan of Joy Buolamwini. I don't know if you know her. She had a Netflix film, but she's spoken at Congress. She's done a lot of work at MIT around facial recognition technology. And it's very biased. And she's been able to turn around some of the, how should I say this? Some of the big corporations to really think about how are they approaching facial recognition. Because if we as humans are behind AI and we are a biased species, like, you have to really think about what are we feeding it? And
100%.
So testing is super important. So at JLL, at least I haven't been there that long. I'm going to be 2 years old. I'm going to be a toddler in May. So not too long from now. But in my experience, we would start potentially testing in the APAC region, but realize that you got to test the whole darn globe in terms of, does it resonate? And I don't know if you remember Siri. You remember Siri when it first came out?
Yeah.
The amount of the testing that they did, I used to laugh because I have friends from all different parts of the world. And if you had even an accent that it doesn't recognize, it makes up all sorts of things, right? Because it was tested.
Oh, it still makes them up. I mean, and this thing is 8 years old or whatever. And it's still making up words that you ask, hey, you find this website and they're like, would you like to buy tickets? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? So
so we've got to really think about, so when you're asking about responsibility or being responsible, it starts at leadership level of any company or any startup or any founding company. But as human beings, we need to really be active in giving feedback and in pushing back, right? Like if something is really not feeling right, don't take it.
So what are you seeing at JLL? If you can maybe broad stroke, but go, here are some areas that we're seeing AI being implemented in the commercial real estate space that's having really big, dramatic leaps and bounds in either productivity or saving of time or whatever, that we're like, wow, 20 years ago, this would have taken us 3 weeks. It takes us 30 minutes now. Because of it, it's unlocking X.
I love this question because one, I would say that we're still in nascent stages. And it's not just commercial real estate. I would say across the industry, right? Across not just the industry, but across many industries. So I mentioned earlier in our chat that there was a study done in March 2025, just last year, between Goldman Sachs and US Census Bureau, where they looked at the industries in terms of its adoption of AI and AI-related technologies. And real estate is within the top 5, which is like, people are like, what? Aren't you all curmudgeon-y? You could say like, yeah, some people still have that thought of commercial real estate being a bit in the old school, traditional curmudgeon-y thing. But the fact that, CRE, as we call it, commercial real estate industry, has adopted it, really kind of tells you that they see a promise in it, right? Like they see a promise in it. The thing that I would say is there is a lot of hype. There's a lot of adoption. There's also a lot of noise. There's a lot of technologies. In fact, I'm going to be speaking at an upcoming BOMA conference, which is the Building Owners Management Association conference in Long Beach, where I'm going to actually be speaking to senior leaders around the trends that I see. I would say 2025 and end of 2024 was a lot of adoption of more generative AI solutions, where some people call it, well, you just put a chatbot on it. It's more than that, right? What I have seen in my short tenure at JLL, or in my short amount of time that I've been doing this kind of work, is there is adoption. There's tools out there, but it's not yet transforming. I would say there's been some good things, like at JLL, one of our solutions actually has helped a property manager gather data that she said, for this monthly report I have to do on my financial data, it usually takes me about 2 hours because I look through emails, spreadsheets, all sorts of places. And with AI, I asked it to gather it, and it was like 10 minutes to gather the information. And so that pain, right? That's really reducing that pain is awesome, but it's just scratching the surface. And I would say 2024, 2025 was about experimenting with AI and really thinking about productivity and saving time. I think where AI is going to go starting this year through, I would say 2028, 2029, is really transforming things that are painful. Maybe it's the accounts receivable experience, or getting approvals through your budget that used to take weeks or months. I know so because I've done a project where I'm like, whoa, the amount of approvals or routing this has to go through is a lot, especially around budgets. But can you imagine just being able to transform that? And the only thing you have to do, instead of like, help me get something done, is do it for me, but then allow me to then review it and approve it. That's really going to be game changer. And I'm thinking we're not there yet. I think there's a lot of adoption. There's a lot of hype, but people are saying, I would say, we just did, JLL Property Management Group just did a study around this, and it's People will tell you, yeah, I'm using AI now. But is it meaningful? No, not yet. I would say it's still in the, I'm trying it out. I think it can save me some time, but to truly change the way I work, not there yet. It's coming though.
That's how I feel. I use Claude, right? I use, occasionally Gemini, and I use ChatGPT. So I'll use those, but almost every time I use them, I'm trying to save myself time.
Yes.
And it ends up taking me more time.
Tell me more. Why do you say that?
I'm trying to think of some things that I have done. Again, some of them are small personal projects, right? Or you're trying to create a pitch deck, or, because I have, we do, we help out some founders who are trying to raise money and stuff like that. And so I'll help them and I'll try to make a pitch deck for them. And they'll make the pitch deck, and it takes, you take your 15 minutes creating what you want, the prompt, if you will. And then as I'm trying to learn it, and I'll be the first to say I'm not like great at it yet. And you're uploading pictures and ways that you write into files so that it knows how to speak like you and all that stuff, and use your colors. And then you ask it to make the pitch deck, and you get really excited because it starts swirling and working. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just made a pitch deck in 20 minutes that used to take 3 hours, right? And then you wait, and then the pitch deck comes out, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so great. You open it up, and you're like, this is terrible. This is totally wrong. And that's when I do give it feedback, and I'm like, no, you were wrong. And then you wait, and it takes 4 or 5 minutes to come up, and it gives you the next one, and you're like, I said keep slide 1, but the rest, and yet you changed slide 1. And I almost get into this like argument, like it's a person, and I'm angry. And yes, it comes out, and it ends up being good. And there are some things that you're like, wow, the design is really good, or boy, you really worded this so much better than I would have, or I like your formatting and everything else. But I end up having to change a lot of it. And it's almost like it was just a really good, it's like having a really good partner sitting on the other side of the table and being able to bounce back and forth and come up with things together. But I haven't gotten to the place where I find it to be meaningful, like you said. It's interesting, and I'm trying to play with it, and I'm trying to get it to move the needle for us. But then it, or I'll give you another example. We're a recruiting agency. And so either on the B2B side, when we're trying to find new clients, or on we call it B2C, but when we're looking for candidates, we'll build a sequencing to reach out to them. And I want to come up with really good, thoughtful emails that make sense, that help really encapsulate what the role is that we're looking for, so that we don't just have anyone who's a product manager, but really specific things. And so I'll have it help me word it so that it really hits the right type of people. But I end up rephrasing it and fixing it, and it's been 30 minutes. It is better than it would have been, but it hasn't really dramatically saved me a lot of time when I look at the totality of the project that I did, right? Whatever it is.
Right.
Those are just some examples of times I've used it that I'm not mad I used it, but I'm still not finding it fully meaningful, where I can give it some instructions and it does create an autopilot kind of experience that can be replicated, month after month after I spend the 3 hours kind of getting it built the right way. That's me personally. And so I'm trying to find, to your point, I love it. I think it's an amazing tool. I'm trying to find, how do I make it more meaningful for what I'm doing in every day? And so I don't know what I'm doing wrong, because I do believe I'm the problem, the user error.
I think where AI is going from, like I said, this more generative AI thing to agents, I think that's where it's going to change. When you think about having almost a workforce or a team, a digital team, or digital workforce that can help you and reflect, I think that's where it's going to be different. I know you were using probably a free version of
Claude
that.
paid. ChatGPT was free. Yeah. I have the Pro Claude.
I would say, like, the moment you create an agent, there's going to be more meaningful.
That's what I'm trying. I'm trying to build that. Yeah. And I wonder if that's going to change. I'm just thinking, like, the degree you get in college, will there be a class strictly on building like agentic engineering, right? Like where it's like how to build these different agents really, really well versus kind of a sloppy version of them, which is probably how I'm building them, right?
It's happening now.
Is it really?
It's
Oh,
happening
gosh.
now. And I will be honest, when I talk to college students and they show me what they can do in Cursor, like, oh my gosh, like just the onboarding of new software engineers right now is so different from when I
Yep.
started in my career. I would say there's less hand holding. It's almost like, oh, okay, you know all that already? Okay, great. So instead of me looking at their code, AI is already kind of doing the first pass, and then I look at like specific pieces of it to make sure that it actually still holds true. It's happening now. Change is happening now, and you don't have to go to college for it.
I know.
I think a lot of my conversations around college has been, to be honest, what could I do that is AI proof? And so most of my conversations haven't been about college. It's been about trade schools. And in fact, it's been about young people going into, apprenticeships around, being an electrician or a plumber, because they are AI proof. I mean, I just had a conversation with a good friend from, who works at ServiceNow as a dev manager and a GitHub dev manager. And we had an afternoon where I said, y'all, like it is a different world in terms of young people all rushing to go into computer science. And now there's like a lot of people scratching their heads with, I'm going to graduate with a CS degree. And it used to be like,
Oh
just
yeah,
to let you know,
that was a bulletproof degree.
like it was like, oh, you got that? Good. Come on in, right? Whatever experience you have. Now I don't think that's going to be a guarantee anymore, which is true. It's not. And I would say, I have another close friend who is a founder of a startup. And she, whenever she goes into her series, whatever C, I think she's on C now, funding, she said the other people around her are all dropouts from college. And yeah, this is the Bay Area. But it's pretty much like, sophomores in college dropping out of Stanford and stuff to do startups. And they're using all of these tools to actually generate the code, but also generate these ideas.
Yeah.
So it's changing, and it's kind of interesting, right? Because I would say that there was this departure from these apprentice programs, right, from trade schools into like more of this, CS degrees and
STEM degree.
yeah, like those kinds of things. And just to hear young people say, you know what, I'm going to go be an electrician and I'm going to go into trade school. It's fascinating to me.
I think it's awesome. No, if you know my background, like I appreciate it. I also think what's driving some of that narrative, maybe 5% of that, is the cost of education has gone through the roof.
Yes.
And the value for it has gone down, right? So as you're saying now, if it used to cost $100,000 to get the CS degree, now it's $250,000 or $300,000 to get the CS degree. And you're saying, hey, it may not be bulletproof anymore. So you put those two things together and it's like, I don't know that I would go spend $300,000 for a CS degree versus, I don't know what a trade school costs, but it's not $300,000. And in many ways accomplish it in a long ROI, it actually works out better. And so,
exactly,
it's not to say don't go to college. I think college is great for some people, but it's that idea that if you think the going to college and get a CS degree and you're done, that's not the case.
I know that the shifts are kind of crazy, right? Like I do feel old when I say these kinds of things because I remember not too long ago, back at Intuit, we would hire literally like for the US, like, 300 interns all for one summer, right? 300 plus interns. I don't know what their number is, but I definitely talked to colleagues outside of JLL and in tech, and those numbers have decreased by a lot.
Yeah.
And what they're asking for from early career engineers is a lot more than what I remember us asking for. So the shifts are definitely there. It's going to be an interesting future, I would say, where we live side by side with digital workforce in a way
Mm-hmm.
that is, yes, governed by humans, but it's going to be an interesting future where, and I sometimes think, okay, so I'm a Waymo fan. I'm a fan of like driverless cars.
Yep, I like Waymo quite a bit.
I actually think as a woman, it's safer, like for me, especially if I go out at night, like I feel like it's safer. But, you know, I know that people are like, but, you know, it can make mistakes. Again, I'm like, humans make mistakes.
Yeah. Yep.
More so sometimes, right? So I do think the shifts, like it's almost, you know, I'm always asked, like, where do you think this is all going? Like, I did also an interview last year at another conference where I was asked by Globe Street, you know, where do you see the future? And he said, you know, it's probably not too far, but I see high personalization where it actually understands my preferences. I see retail, for example, I see mall experiences being very different from what it is today in terms of maybe people still like that where they go in and they kind of meander. I don't even know if people still do that, right?
They do.
They do.
Less than they used to. I mean, because now I have kids and I remember the mall when I was a kid was like the place you met people, and they still do that. It's just far less. I mean, that was like every Saturday, you know, growing up. And now it's like a couple times a year, my kids will end up doing that, but it's not very often. So it still happens, but less.
But you know how they have directories? I was just with my cousin yesterday after she picked me up from the airport. She's like, let's go to the mall and have whatever coffee at whatever. And she's like, I got to find a directory. I'm like, okay. And I said to her, okay, one day it'll just know, like, I'm like, hey, this is what I feel like doing. And it'll just map it out for me. And then when I get to the coffee place, it's known my preferences and potentially has it ready, right? And all I have to do is make sure, like, hey, is that order correct? So she's like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, I'm telling you, I think there's going to be hyper personalization. I also think what's going to happen to human beings is we're going to be, as what some pundits call hyper creators, where, you know, I might be a product manager, but I'm also a designer, but I also can code a bit. I could be like, you know, a lot of different things because AI is enabling me to do that. So I think those are the things that's going to happen is where I still remember always being told that I'm too much of a multi-potentialite. By the way, that's from a TED Talk that someone else did.
Multi-potentialite.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It's by the founder of Putty Life. Really good speaker. But I remember always being told, Aliza, don't be a generalist, be a specialist, right? Like focus on this one thing. And I will say with AI and this hyper creator kind of movement, it's going to be good for you to actually know more things.
I
than
hope
just
so.
The one thing.
I'm kind of a generalist. I hope so because that I'm not a specialist, and you know sometimes I do fear that causes problems, right? Because I'm not just a CFO who can be, you know, CPA CFO, and that's the lane I stay in. I can do some of that. I can kind of move around a little bit. So that's good news for me. So tell me, you're at JLL. When you see people coming in, because we're a recruiting agency, right? So we like talking, interviewing, and so on. What are you seeing a change in the interview process and what you're looking to bring on and the people you're working with and how JLL is hiring due to the changing landscape?
I'm going to speak from a product management perspective because I'm a product manager. The number one thing that I always kind of tell people is AI is a tool. It's a how. At the end of the day, as product managers, I am still looking for someone who, one, truly loves understanding the needs of the customer and truly loves understanding the pain that we need to solve. And then really thinking about, are they somebody that can collaborate well with others, with or without AI, right?
Yeah.
You still it's still a team sport
Yeah.
to actually create solutions. And then third is in my area, because I deal in data, is I want to understand your interest and passion around data and around how can you leverage that, whether it's qualitative or quantitative, to actually create solutions that's meaningful. So for me, I'm still looking for the thing like that really separates good product managers from just so-so product managers. There was something that I recently said around AI should not be the reason why you created that. AI should be the meaningful means to actually enable people to do amazing things.
That's a good way of thinking about it. versus just I created AI for AI
Oh,
per
I know
se.
AI. And I'm like, great, but let's understand, how are you using that to make a difference in people's lives?
Yeah, I think again that's maybe been the theme of this whole thing is meaningful parts of AI, not just saying the word the acronym AI, but actually how did it impact? What pain did it solve, etc. And how did you use AI to, answer the question that you had originally versus just I used AI because, well, I saw the commercial and so therefore I did it, right?
Exactly.
Where do you see JLL in a year, 2 years, 3 years? Where is it heading? Or where do you see at least your department? What are some of the big things that you're excited about that it's headed towards?
I'm really excited about, and it's going to be like this one thing that I'm going to keep saying, transforming the way that property teams work in a building and transforming it so that they can focus on what really matters, which is to create amazing experiences for their tenants.
That's
And
awesome.
and what I mean by that is, again, it's not like, hey, I asked it a question and it gave me an answer. It's about, hey, what can I get rid of that gets in your way? So, for example, we speak to property managers, and between the hours of 6:30 and like 8:30, they're focused on making sure that the building is safe, it's open, it's clean, that there isn't problems with HVAC. They're like making phone calls, writing texts, looking at all sorts of tools, right? But what if AI can actually get rid of that and actually say, hey, Kim or Sarah or Troy or whoever, here's what's happening with your building, and we think it's like 99% ready. Just take a look at this. Because right now, for them to do text, look at emails, look at some dashboards to understand, are we ready to open our doors with security, in place, or, with all of the things in place, takes time. And it actually weighs in on them as they start their day, because it's a very reactive environment. What if we could get rid of that, or get rid of 99% of that, so that they can go, how am I going to make, my whole building's experience awesome? Like, what could I bring in strategically that can really make a difference? Um, I was recently in New York, well, actually December, for the AI summit, and I pitched this talk, which I became a part of, and I called it "Living, Breathing Buildings." And the moderator asked me, like, "How did you come up with that?" And what I said was, a lot of people just think of buildings of like, yeah, that's where I go to work, but there's a lot that happens in a building, right?
Mhm.
Like, your comfort level needs to be ensured, right? Like
I
that.
know my office is like 83 degrees right now. So
Is
I
that how
know.
you like it?
No,
Okay.
no,
Because I'm like, I don't know many
no,
people who, well, maybe some,
no. It's
but
super hot.
but you have to think about, buildings have sensors, buildings have equipment, buildings have people, and the buildings have experiences, right? From the moment you walk in the door. So you have to look at it as a system. And so, technology should just enable buildings to run as a system, to enable great experiences for its tenants. But at the same time, because there's so much tech involved, there's so much AI that's being adopted, then what ends up happening for many of the property teams is they sometimes can feel overwhelmed on, like, oh, okay, what tool do I need for that? Okay, so how does that work with the thing that I really use every day? And I think that's the path that the industry needs to really take a look at. And JLL is definitely taking a look at transformative workflows, is really thinking about, how do I work? And then, how do property teams work? Whether it's a building engineer or a property manager, what can we really do meaningfully that can really help elevate their role, so that, one, they feel confident that their building's in good condition, two, that it's well run, and then three, that it's profitable. At the end of the day, it's still about ensuring that you have well run, profitable buildings.
Yeah, of course. That's what keeps the lights on, right?
Yeah, no pun
Yep, no
intended.
pun intended. So, you're speaking tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm doing 2 sessions. JLL does this thing called the Management University, which is focused on property management. So bringing all of these different leaders from across the globe to Nashville,
Which is awesome.
which is awesome. And it's my second time at the Gaylord Opryland place, which is, but it's pretty funny. I feel like Hansel and Gretel, because I just choose the same way to get to the thing because it's so big.
It is huge.
It's huge. And yeah, I've got the app, but I still get confused. So whatever. So at some point, I think AI's got to make that better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm actually doing a talk with 3 property managers and a VP in at JLL. And we're going to be talking about transformative AI and how, I basically go through the whole day from 6:30 to 4 p.m. And then I ask these 3 property managers, tell me about your day. And then we show them how you can use tech to enable that.
Yeah, to make the day better, easier, and better for the tenants, better for the property managers, etc. That's awesome. So my questions, though, are going to be a little bit less about your talk. What are you doing while you're here in Nashville? Yeah.
What am I doing while I'm here? So
what are the fun things you're doing?
Unfortunately, I would say, well, first of all, I always have fun wherever I am. But yesterday I did spend part of the afternoon outside of like the area. And I need to ask my cousin where I was, but I had some of the best tacos, which is hilarious because I'm a taco aficionado, I think, coming from San Diego.
Yeah.
So she took me to Bar Taco.
Okay, so Bar Taco, 12 South. Shout out Bar Taco, 12 South.
I love. Like we actually had to take a walk because I think I overate.
I'm telling you, I'm going to shout out my place, Mojo's Tacos. That's down in Franklin. It's in the factory. I think they're the best tacos in the world.
Really?
They're incredible, outrageous.
How far is that from like?
From here, it's like a 15-minute drive. So from where you're at, it would not be close.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be close, unfortunately. But
it's called Mojo's.
Mojo's Tacos. They're unbelievable. I just think they're awesome. I love Mojo's Tacos.
Okay, so you've been to Bar Taco, right? Okay, so
also very good.
Okay, so apparently Mojo's is like one level up.
I love Mojo's.
Or a couple levels up.
They're kind of like hipster tacos, right? Like they're not like just like your basic, Mexican taco. They have everything from like a, brisket taco, sweet potato taco, like all these different kinds of weird things put into a tortilla. And yeah, they're awesome. They are incredible.
Well, yesterday at Bar Taco, I had we ordered cauliflower tacos.
Okay,
they were
amazing.
Yep. Amazing. So that area, I took a walk around.
12 South's really cool.
And in Green Hills,
beautiful.
Yeah, so hung out around there. But starting today through when I leave, there's a lot of events that were.
You know where they are?
They're pretty much around Gaylord.
Gaylord?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
You might want to find yourself onto Broadway or go off Broadway. Just saying. That's kind of the Nashville thing to do. Go check out a Predators game. If you like walking around, you can go actually really close to here where we're at. We're just south of Nashville and Brentwood. There's Radnor Lake State Park, which is just an awesome, especially because you got here, great weather. And you're from San Diego, so I get it. I know in your world, you're like, wait, is it 82 and sunny every day? No, but we have perfect weather this week. It's like 72 and sunny every day.
I know last week I was going to pack and I looked at the weather. Oh, it's going to be cold last week. And then Sunday I was packing, or Monday I was packing. I'm like, what? It's going to be 80. So had to change all of the things that I was going to wear.
It was 90 on Sunday. They say in Nashville, if you don't like the weather, just give it 12 hours. Because we will have 36 degrees and then 86 degrees within a 12-hour span. It's very
It's like when I go to New England.
It's very wild. I love it, but it's wild. It's better than Chicago. But you could go walk Radnor Lake State Park. It's beautiful. It's quiet. It's weird to be in a state park that's like that close to downtown. Check out Broadway. Go check out some of the places just off Broadway too. Preds game. And then the Gaylord obviously is just a monster. And the thing is huge.
It's huge.
It's like a Vegas almost sized
it
casino. There's no casino in Nashville, which is pretty cool. So you're going to have a lot of fun here. Nashville's a great place.
It's my 3rd time. So I've done the Broadway, not this time, but in another.
I need to do San Diego because I do things. I've been there, and San Diego is, it is the greatest weather of all. Like it's unbelievable. It's wild. It's
Every
awesome.
time I land, I'm always like happy because
it's pretty awesome.
Okay, it's going to be 75.
The one time I went, I was living in Chicago, and I lived my whole life in Chicago, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's so humid in Chicago," and I'm like, "It's not. What's humid?" And then I went to San Diego for a trip, and it was in San Diego and it was great. And then I landed, it was in the summer, and I landed back in Chicago and it was like 85. We got off the plane and I about choked with the humidity, and I'm like, that's what they mean by humidity. People from California are like, it's so humid in Chicago. I'm like, what are you talking
I
about?
actually find Nashville humid right now.
Nashville is humid everything's humid compared to California. So
Exactly.
well, yeah. So you do have the best weather in the world. There's nothing I can say about that. San Diego is amazing. San Diego is beautiful. So I get why you live there. All right. So last question we've been asking recently. What are you watching? What's the show you're watching?
Okay.
Netflix, Hulu, what's the show?
Okay. So it's a lot of different things, but I recently discovered Will Trent.
Will Trent, what's this on?
Yes. Okay. So I recently discovered that show, and I'm glued onto that. And I recently just completed the miniseries The Residence on Netflix.
Okay.
And then I also I'm a BritBox fan, so I've been kind of watching all these old shows.
Oh, those bore me.
Oh, they do?
I can't watch that. I can't.
So I'm like, I love mystery stuff. So I just discovered Poirot. So I'm watching those.
Okay. Have you discovered Paradise?
No.
Okay. It's awesome.
Paradise.
It's incredible. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
Right. I don't know who has Hulu. I don't even know how I have Hulu. Actually, I do know how I have Hulu, and it's a long story. It actually came from Spotify or vice versa. I don't remember. Years ago. And someone said, watch Paradise. And we watched it. It's incredible. It really is very, very good. Do you ever watch Lost back in the day?
Yeah, but only the beginning, because then it got boring.
Then it got really weird.
Yeah.
And it got weird. And then
it got boring. It was like, oh, okay.
But the first 3 seasons were really good.
Yeah.
So far, Paradise is actually, they do like a weekly one or whatever, like one just came out on Monday. And I think next Monday will be the final of the season 2. And we just started watching it maybe 2 weeks ago, my wife and I. And it feels very much like a Lost. Very, very well done. Very cliffhanger. Holy cow, this is wild. Really interesting topic and plot as well. Yeah. So I recommend Paradise. I think you will enjoy it.
And that's on what? On
Hulu.
Okay. Yeah. And then something that I did recently stumble upon on YouTube is Sing Again, which is a singing competition in Korea. And they're on the Sing Again 4. And it's interesting. Obviously it's in Korean. And then I've been watching the ones that have the English subtitles, but it's interesting. It's almost like The Voice, but it's got they're looking straight at the person. But it's wild. This year, the person who had the highest score wasn't Korean, but it was somebody who actually went to Korea to learn, because she wanted to be in a K-pop group.
Okay.
And so she had to learn Korean and sang all of her songs in Korean. So anyway,
I can see watching that with my girls. They like that. They really like The Voice and all those things. So, all right, Sing Again. So you notice I have a whole note sheet to take notes, and I wrote down Will Trent and Sing Again. So that's the football player in me. All right. Well, Aliza, I appreciate you. So again, how awesome is it? She's in town to speak at a conference. And she comes and stops by our office. So I really appreciate you coming in. For everyone who's watching, I want you to subscribe, comment on all the stuff. I mean, obviously there was some things that Aliza is talking about on AI where she's really at the forefront of it. And I think it's really interesting stuff. How can they get a hold of you? The people who are listening and they're like, this is great. Because the last time we met you, I think, I don't know, it was 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people were viewing the episode. How can those people get a hold of you, ask you questions, maybe join your team at JLL?
I'm definitely pretty active on LinkedIn. I do a lot of blogs on LinkedIn and I follow. So I'm on LinkedIn. It's just Aliza Carpio. And then my Instagram is alisaflips@gmail.com. Aliza Flips. And then my email address is alisaflips@gmail.com. But I think the thing for me is I really do use LinkedIn for a lot of things. I just like the blogging aspect of it. And by the way, when I blog, I don't use AI.
Look at you.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't either.
I don't. There are some things that I don't use AI for, and I don't I don't do it for any of my writing. I will use it for creating an outline for a presentation, but I don't use it for writing blogs.
Anything that you need to
Yeah.
feel authentic, right?
Yeah, because even though I do use the settings, I don't know if you've used the settings on ChatGPT or others where you can actually say, I want to sound assertive, I want to sound friendly. Even though I've changed those settings, I really don't like outsourcing my voice.
Yep, I agree.
And so, and maybe again, one day it'll probably know my voice. But right now I still keep some of the things still authentic to me, but I do subscribe to some, neuroscientists that talk about, how you shouldn't just allow AI to take over, partly because it does change the framework of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use it as a tool, but I definitely, for things that I want to convey messages, from me, it's definitely just me speaking.
I agree. So follow her on LinkedIn, connect with her on LinkedIn, comment on LinkedIn, some of the stuff that she talks about. So I appreciate you joining us. I appreciate everyone watching. Again, give us comments, like this, subscribe, and hopefully we get more guests here in Nashville. So we got to have a lot of conferences.
This is really cool. Like, I really like your space.
Yeah, we love it. We're having a lot of fun. So come on in. If you want to come join us here in Nashville, just shoot me a message. So everyone, we will see you next week. Goodbye.